Hello, friends. This is Darren Hayes of Pigskin.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcast. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that, than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at SportsHistoryNetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that. It'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today. In this Roar of the Crowd episode, we want to transport you back to 1988 on October 15th when we had the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Miami Hurricanes, two of the top teams in the land going at square to square. It was called the Catholics versus Convicts, and it's a game that went down in history as one of the greatest ever, and our summary story on it is coming up in just a moment.
The Roar of the Crowd. This is a presentation from which those great moments in sports history are revived. Come listen to the Roar of the Crowd presented by Pigpen Sports.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of Pigskin.com. Welcome to the Pigpen, your portal to positive football history. And we have another one of your greatest games ever played. We have a bunch of them that happened on October 15th. And this is another one that involved the University of Notre Dame. Well, the Miami Hurricanes were the top team in the land, and they traveled to Notre Dame to face the number 4 Fighting Irish. The Irish were coached by legendary sideline boss Lou Holtz, while the Miami Hurricanes, they had Jimmy Johnson on their sidelines. Two great coaches in college football history, two great teams facing off. Now, the rosters of these two teams look like a who's who of who was going to the NFL. First, the Miami Hurricanes. They had NFL players galore. Steve Walsh, a quarterback. Craig Erickson was a quarterback in waiting. Cleveland Gary, the running back. Alex Johnson, another running back. Andre Brown, Randall Hill, Dale Dawkins, all wide receivers that made it in the NFL. Carlos Huerta and Bill Hawkins rounded out the NFL lineup of the Miami Hurricanes. But the Notre Dame Fighting Irish were no slouches either. They had their own great players. But Tony Rice was the starting quarterback, did not make it in the NFL, but Kent Graham, his backup, did. So did Mark Green, Anthony Johnson, Tony Brooks, Ricky Waters, and Rodney Culver, 5 running backs from the Notre Dame's team that year that were in the NFL. Pat Ehlers, Raghib Ismail, the Rocket, was on that team. Rod Smith and Derek Brown, tight end. Smith and Ehlers and Rocket Ismail were all wide receivers. And Frank Stams was on the defensive side for the Irish. All were NFL players, so high-caliber players, high-caliber teams, high-caliber coaching. It was going to make for one of the greatest games ever played in college football history. And, we know in the modern day that the replay rule exists, and it takes care of some things that maybe are some question. Well, we still have some controversy, but this game came down to a fumble, or was it, by Cleveland Gary, the great Hurricanes running back. Was he down, or could he have scored in Miami's favor? It's hard to say. Miami ended up having 7 turnovers in this game. This was going in as sort of a revenge game on the Notre Dame sideline. Guys that were freshmen and sophomores can remember that 1985 game where Miami blistered the Fighting Irish 58-7, where Jimmy Johnson sort of ran up the score with that high-powered offensive hit. And it really left a salty taste in the mouths of Notre Dame. Their coach, Jerry Faust, had just announced his resignation just a few days before. The team was reeling from that. Players were wanting to know what was going to happen, and then the Hurricanes come in and just blow the doors off the Fighting Irish. So 3 years later, under Lou Holtz, new regime, a new attitude, some of these old players were sitting there saying, well, they're going to get theirs for what they did to us. You, Jimmy Johnson. And what a game it ended up being. The game was fairly tight throughout, although Notre Dame held a 10-point lead at the start of the fourth quarter. But Miami came surging back, an early field goal, and then a late drive, scored a touchdown with just about 30 seconds left on the clock. Notre Dame's up 31-30. Miami and Jimmy Johnson are not going for the tie. They're going for the win. Ball set on the 2-yard line, and Steve Walsh is going to call him under center. Walsh took that snap and took a 3-step drop, surveyed the land, and went to his receiver in the right short corner of the end zone, fires it in until Pat Terrell of Notre Dame steps in front, bats it down, hits the ground. Notre Dame wins 31-30, and there in South Bend, heard the roar of the crowd. That win mid-season propelled Notre Dame to greater things. They ended up going on to beat Navy and Air Force and Penn State and USC and got a berth in the Fiesta Bowl where they faced the West Virginia Mountaineers, who ranked number 3, and Tony Rice and company went in there and won 34-21, clinching the national championship as they had knocked off the top team in the land to get there and everybody else in between in number 3 at the end in Fiesta Bowl. And that is where they really heard the roar of the crowd. So another great game, another great piece of history. Glad you could join us here. Hope you join us each and every day for some more great sports history and football history here in the Pig Pen. Till tomorrow, everybody, have a great day. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. A special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hi, everybody. Dan and Andrew from Hello Old Sports here. We wanted to drop in and let you know about our latest episode.
That's right. We interviewed the co-authors of Phyllis George, Shattering the Ceiling, a biography of groundbreaking broadcaster Phyllis George. And her life is really sort of a journey through 20th century America, from Miss America pageants to the Kentucky State House to the groundbreaking NFL Today show on CBS, even the Kentucky Colonels of the old ABA. We got into all sorts of stories about the Celtics under Red Auerbach, about the interview with Roger Staubach, about really all sorts of things, a fight between Brent Musburger and Jimmy the Greek. We really enjoyed talking with Lenny Shulman and Paul Volpone, who teamed up to write this book.
The book is on sale right now, wherever books are sold. Within reason. Garage sales, probably not. So go ahead and pick up a copy today. And if you want a chance to win the book, you can go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways and register for a chance to win. Goodbye, old sports.